NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, presents Aeronautics and Space Report.
I think as far as walking is concerned, it's clear that a man's going to leave footprints, and there'll be a very accurate record of footprints, perhaps an inch or so deep, of just where he's gone. All he has to do is take a picture looking back, and he'll have a complete record of his travels.
Dr. Eugene Shoemaker, answering questions about the flight and moon landing of Surveyor 3 and what it will be like when men walk there. Surveyor began its descent to the lunar surface 53 hours after liftoff from Cape Kennedy. Bouncing 3 times, it came to rest about halfway down the side of a crater 650 feet across and 50 feet deep. Shown here being tested before flight is Surveyor's surface sampling device. Scientists wanted to see what happens to the chunks of lunar material and how it breaks up. From these tests, we know that the lunar surface is slightly cohesive and behaves much like fine-grained granular soil on Earth. A small quantity of soil was placed on the white footpad of Surveyor. This is what it looked like in color. Color helps geologists tell the difference between various rock types and aids in determining the weathering process. While the Earth was partially illuminated by the sun, Surveyor gave us a look at our own planet. Here, the continents and oceans have been superimposed for reference. These pictures, put together in sequence, show a lunar sunset. Man is going to land on the moon, and he will bring back pieces of it to Earth. Surveyor 3 and those to follow will help make it possible. Before the last Gemini flight, Gemini 12, astronaut Aldrin practiced his spacewalk tasks at the bottom of a swimming pool. This so-called neutral buoyancy training is the closest thing to weightlessness which can be practiced for extended periods in advance of a mission. Recently, at Key West, Florida, 24 astronauts learned to do work underwater, to get a feel for this state of near weightlessness and to practice underwater emergency procedures. In addition, the spacemen received classroom instruction and also trained at sea. Astronaut scuba diving, experience now for future flights into space. Paris, France. One of the highlights of the recent Paris Air Show was the visit of President Charles de Gaulle to the U.S. Pavilion. Also attending were astronauts David Scott and Michael Collins, who looked at Russian hardware and met with their USSR counterpart, cosmonaut Nikolai Belayev. The Paris Air Show, governments and industry displaying the results of technological advances. Closer to home, Montreal, Canada, Expo 67, still in progress. The United States Pavilion is a geodesic dome rising 20 stories. Near the top of the dome, many spacecraft and full-scale models of this country's space program are on display. The picture-taking Ranger, Lunar Orbiter, and Surveyor. A model of the lunar vehicle which will carry 2 astronauts to the moon's surface. Mercury, Gemini, Apollo. These and many other examples of space hardware on exhibit at Expo 67, Montreal.
This has been an Aeronautics and Space Report presented by NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration.